Hello, race fans, and welcome to another round of the World Touring Car Series, round 4 of the World Touring Car Series, Season 3. It's Peter Mackay here alongside Paul Smith in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. And, well, Paul, it's been an exciting season so far, but Kieran Harrison, he's the man with the target on his back. He's opened up quite a lead.
Yeah, he certainly is the target man, the one that everybody's going to be gunning after. I mean, the performances in the second and third rounds of the championship really showed how strong that SimRC team are. And, well, we're going to be seeing even more of that, I do feel, tonight, as this venue is going to be a real tricky one for the drivers tonight.
Certainly is. Mosport in Canada, also known as Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We're going to be in for a cracker. 3 20-minute races this evening, with 2 of them affected by a reverse grid draw as well. Who will come out on top? Well, Kieran Harrison, our championship leader, has 5 wins to his name, with the nearest competitor having just 1. This is your championship standings then. Kieran Harrison all leading on 620 points, with his teammate Nathan Ames on 555. Then it's defending champion from the past Ross McFarlane, 531. David Baker in 4th, 488. And Sam Blease rounds out the top 5 with 458 points. Morgan Butler sitting in 6th place, followed by Wojciech Savidovic, Esteban Rodriguez, Miguel Freitas, and Norbert Leitner rounds out the top 10. In our AM class, well, it's a little bit closer. Dan Martin leads the way after a strong start to the season, but Stuart Bickley's not too far behind on 287 points. Just 29 points in arrears. Akram Zanoni on his own in his little Honda, doing a great job fighting up there at the front of the AM class with just 46 points adrift. Mike Pollard sits in 4th with Harry Fox in 5th. Then it's Damon Mulqueen in 6th, Rob Sullivan sits in 7th, Craig Williams in 8th, Andreas Gilman in 9th, and Ryan Hamilton rounds out the top 10. In the team standings, well, it's mighty close. SimRC sit on 1,189 points, but Pure Sim's very close behind on 1,096. That could go either way, that championship. Don't write off Impulse Racing either, arriving into this championship with a real bang on 971 points. The SimLab team sit on 4th, Semper Racing are in 5th, Hydro Race Geodesic are 6th, Forum Remote Podcast by Geodesic are 7th, RD Simsport in 8th, CSS by Urano in 9th, and Impulse Racing round out the top 10 with their Sim Racing cockpit-backed team. Well, qualifying time, Paul. Importance of qualifying here at Mosport, where would you rate it?
I mean, you do want to be up towards the front of the grid because it is only a short start and finish straight here, so you want to be up near the front to not have to be starting around the final few corners. But slipstream will be a big factor here, especially down the section from Moss all the way towards the S's, towards the end of the lap, so that's going to be a big key thing, a big key factor for everybody out there tonight.
Certainly will. Well, the checkered flag is out in qualifying, so last chance for the drivers to put in their fast laps, and it's Corentin Guinness, the defending champion from last season, with Ross McFarlane winning Season 1, Guinness in Season 2. Who will win Season 3? Well, it's Kieran Harrison that leads the way in the championship, but Kieran Harrison, our championship leader, is in 2nd in the order at the moment, and Nathan Ames makes it a SimRC 1-2-3. And you mentioned drafting, Paul. That's a very strong position to be in for those top 3 drivers, with some, well, just as we say that, their party has been well and truly spoiled by Dan Martin in the AM class, Paul. Wow, what a performance.
I said that draft would be king around here, and I said that the slipstream would be a strong thing around here, and to get Dan Martin mixing it in with your championship leaders, that's going to put him in good stead for this opening race of the championship tonight. I mean, Sam Smith, 10th place, another AM as well up there, so he as well has had a really good time out there in the Elantra. There are a couple of Honda Civics out there, it must be said, but a number of drivers having to start from the back of the grid. It's going to be a tough old night for those drivers starting from the back.
Yeah, several drivers have not set a qualifying time. El Neil, Rafael Drechaz, Richard Simner, Nathan Davies, Terje Flatten, Miguel Freitas, Michael Polishek, Carl Johnston, Spencer McCarthy, Nick Clibbins and Neil Stevenson. A lot of drivers serving qualifying bans and not setting times in that session. So we're about to line up for the first of 3 20-minute sprint races from a standing start, and it will be Corentin Guinez, the defending champion, who is on pole position. It's not been the start to the championship that he would have liked, but with 8 rounds still to go, let's see what the rapid Frenchman can do from this stage. He will be joined on the front row by the championship leader, his teammate Kieran Harrison, just a tenth of a second in arrears. Dan Martin, qualifying performance of the season so far in the AM class, 3rd overall, splitting the Sim RC cars. Ross McFarlane and James Holman, they sit there in third position, in the third row, Row 4 is Norbert Leitner and Szilard Nagy. Then it's Jake Blackcall and Sam Smith. Stephen Walker and Jaroslav Sebula make up row 6. Then it's David Baker, Andreas Gilman, Esteban Rodriguez and Jack Sedgwick, with Morgan Butler and Jamie Rushworth making up row 9. Then row 10 is Andreas Bachmann and Matthias Pentola. Nicholas Laubich, Pete Newman, Sam Blees and James Parker complete the first 24 cars. Then it's Mike Pollard, Craig Williams, Damon Milkeen, Ben Gregory, Oyston Hereford and Ryan Hamilton rounds out the top 30. Then it's Alain McCain, Mark Johnston, Scott Malcolm, Hakan Ask, Stuart Bickley and Neil Rocks. 37th is Chris Chatterton, followed by Daniel White, who set the last time in 38th. Then the following drivers, no time set: Michael Polishek, Spencer McCarthy, Terje Flatten, Miguel Freitas, El Neil, Rafael Dressage, Richard Sindner, Nick Clibbins, Neil Stevenson and Akram Zenoni, rounding out our 48 car field. Well. The revs are beginning to rise already. We are nearly ready to go racing here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The long train of touring cars dragging all the way around the last corner. And here we go. Revs begin to build then. Ready to go racing in Canada. Here in the World Touring Car Series, round number 4. It's a long wait for the lights, but finally they extinguish and off we go into 20 minutes of racing. Towards turn 1 they go. And it is the Sim RC pair who lead the way, with Corentin Guinez getting the jump for now. Harrison tucking in right behind there as well. Dan Martin, great start from 3rd. He maintains his position with Nathan Ames right in behind him. Nice. And we have McFarlane right there in 5th as well. So very smooth start there, Paul.
Yeah, smooth start. There is a car off in the grass further back. I believe that's Stuart Bickley in the DCW racing car that's taken to the grass. But if ever there's going to be an accident, it's coming into this section of Moss here. There was Ross McFarlane out of control going into the right-hander. And as you go through, there's double apex right-hander. There you go. Right in the middle of the pack. One of the 3M cars is sideways, and there's just all sorts of chaos and carnage going on.
Yeah, the road's completely blocked there as well, and Zenoni can't get through at all. He's blocked there in the white and red Honda. Several drivers having to manoeuvre their way, doing a bit of Austin Powers manoeuvring to get themselves out of trouble. So let's see how it happened then. Coming down through turn 4, a little bit of a wiggle there, and one of the Hyundai Elantras loses it, and in fact there's already problems, and the car broadside across the road. There's not much that many of the drivers could do in that situation. Many of them actually slowing down quite significantly there, Paul, which is good to see, and making their way through safely.
Yeah, there was a number making their way through safely, to be fair. Morgan Butler has dropped down the order as well, and in fact is going to head on to pit road, so must be damage to his car. But yeah, coming through the opening section, there was a little bit of contact further back. Everybody keeping on track. Yes, they're all kept on the track there. Well, I say that as we've got a car going off into the grass then. And I think that was the car of Sam Smith, who did so well in qualifying, did Smith, to be fair. This is going through turn 2, so Smith's off into the grass there. He's still on side. And does he get any help? Well, he's fine. Yaroslav, Yeah, just a little bit of a touch between him and Sam. And I think Sam was just trying to get out the way to try and give up the place back, and he's ended up putting himself into the runoff.
Yeah, not a clean first lap as far as that was concerned. I tell you what, if you get that as the last place you want to get clipped, is tipping into turn 2. It's so fast through there in any race car. But at the front, well, it's dreamland for Sim RC. Corentin Guinness leads from the championship leader Kieran Harrison. Nathan Ames is providing a perfect rear gunner service in third, with Ross McFarlane's moved up to fourth. Dan Martin's in fifth. But again, remember, Dan Martin, signified by his blue number on our timing tower, he is in the AM class. He's the championship leader in the AM class, and he is 11 spots ahead of car number 85, Andreas Gilman.
Yeah, really good going in the early stages here, but of course, plenty of action to come for us here so far, so it's going to be a case of just keep an eye on what happens out there. But underneath the bridge, downhill into Moss, and like I say, this is such a tricky corner because you're turning, you're braking, you're trying to hit an apex. You don't want to hit that inside curve on the exit of Moss too hard, or else it'll flick your car up and push you wide and compromise your run all the way down this section. We call it the back straight, but it's not really, it's more of a curve. But my goodness, can you get a great slipstream down here?
Yeah, named after the great Mario Andretti. The Mario Andretti straightaway, although he didn't manage to win the Formula 1 Grand Prix when it came here, but he's had plenty of other success in other vehicles. Of course, this was a circuit where the Can-Am came many times. Really nice flow to it as well, based in Bowmanville, Ontario. As we ride with David Baker taking us over the line for another lap. He's going to have a look up the inside of one of the geodesic car, the 222 of Stephen Walker. Goes up the inside at turn 1, a popular move. Can he get it done? No. Walker really toughs it out on the outside, and that actually gives him the inside line. There it is for turn number 2. As it's completely blind, you really are putting a lot of trust in your skill, the car, and your circuit knowledge at that point, Paul.
Yeah, that's turn 1. You've got to have a little bit of cooperation to make that move and make it stick there, and certainly good move into turn 1. Do you know what, Peter? I know you're a lover of your motorsport history. Did you know in 1969 this very venue saw the only ever Formula 1 black flag for a driver driving too slow? Al Pease. That's
not a nice record to be known for. And certainly the winner of that race, Jackie X, definitely wouldn't have ever been given that award. That's for sure.
Well, let's just say by the time he completed 22 laps, the leaders had completed 46. So that tells you how slow he was that day.
Well, he had his day in the sun. He got his money's worth. That's good. That's good. Good on him. Tell you what, that's one more Formula 1 race than either of us have taken part in.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Well, we've not got that problem here in the World Touring Car Series. The field's so tightly matched, 50 cars taking part today with great participation in this third season of this championship, run by World Sim Racing, broadcast as always here on RaceSpotTV. And do check out the World GT Championship on Monday nights, myself and Paul taking you through the action there every week as well. What was this little look up the inside there? From the Urano car, that is Nicolas Laubisch, car number 90. He's had an up and down season, would that be fair to say, Paul?
Tumultuous, I think, is one of the words that I would use. Yeah, it's not gone all his way for Nicolas, and but looking to get a good, solid result here. He's behind one of the Impulse cars, is Nicolas, and going through the right-handers once again, and Yaroslav Sabula at the front of that field that little train of cars is just giving them a lovely slipstream here, and he's got Esteban Rodriguez right behind up the Mario Andretti straight, but Jamie Rushworth, Jack Sedgwick, Andreas Gilman, they're all in this little scrap as well. Sam Belize, who has given us sort of impressed us a little bit at times, hasn't he, Sam? He's at the back of this little gaggle.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he's definitely had flashes of speed and of good performances. That's that's for sure. At the front, the Sim RC cars making full advantage of that draft and of that cooperation between one another. They're only covered, the top three, Guinness, Harrison, Ames, only covered by half a second, excuse me, and 1.5 seconds back from Ames to Ross McFarlane is, one of the Semper Racing cars put onto the grass and, just about hangs onto it. Well done, well held, sir. Now, which Semper Racing car was that?
It was Sevilla.
He's been bashed about today.
Well, it was a little bit rude from Rodriguez, if you ask me. I don't think Rodriguez gave him a full car's width at the corner exit of 2. And Laubish is trying to take advantage, and Sabula, obviously upset about things, is trying to give it back. But it's not Laubish that you want to be rubbing and giving a little bit of afters. It's a car a couple of cars up of Esteban Rodriguez.
Oh, now Laubish and the red and black Urano car is going to get left out to dry as Rodriguez tucks in fact Rushworth, tucks in behind Sebula. But can he get the move done on Laubish? Laubish is going to have none of it here. He's going to try and tough it out around the outside, then gives the inside for the left-hander, but then you're on the outside again for the final corner of White's. And, oh, dear me, it's all very tight there, but touring cars, you've got to be comfortable with this sort of hand-to-hand combat. They're not going to go 3 wide into turn 1. No, they decide better of it as well. But Laubish sticking it right out around the outside there as well. And this has given him the inside for turn 2. That's a great move from Nicholas Laubish. Can he seal it up? Yes, he can. Gets the move done on Sebula. Top stuff from Nicholas Laubish.
But look at how long that took to complete that move, though, and look at how much time that they've lost on the cars in front now. They've lost a couple of seconds to the cars in front there by going side by side through the final S's and White's corner and then through turn 1. This is one of the good things about this track is if you can hang it out around the outside of corners and take the run out of the corners on this track. It's a really good track for multiple lines working around here, and it does produce some tremendous racing for us to watch, as we just saw.
Yeah, really fantastic. I absolutely love Mosport. It's a wonderful design, designed by Alan Bunting, in the circuit founded by the British Empire Motor Club. But Stirling Moss did have a bit of input into the design, particularly at his named corner number 5. And instead of putting it as just a regular hairpin, he said, no, make it a double apex, double right-hander. And it is all the more challenging for it. 45 degrees Celsius on the track. That's pretty toasty here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And that's going to make these tyres really squeal. Those front tyres are getting put through a lot. They're getting really lent on going through the corners. But also when they put the power down as well, it really does put a lot of that turbocharged torque through the tyre and put it through its paces. But you're right, Paul, they are really losing a lot of time to the group in front.
If you think about it as well, with this circuit, it's nothing but long radius corners. Apart from Moss and apart from White's corner, everything else is all long radius corners where you're really abusing those front tyres. And with it being so hot track temperature wise, you're absolutely right there, Peter. You're going to be putting a huge heat cycle through those front tyres. They're going to end up feeling like a blancmange by the end of the race. And certainly give the grip of a blancmange, that's for sure. But it's whoever can look after those tyres the best here and really keep a hold of them for as long as possible will come out well.
Oh, Sebula's going to have another look here in the Semper Racing car, but no, doesn't quite get it done on Jamie Rushworth. Well, I would take that's a good analogy. The tyres are like blancmange. I'd also say they'd be the temperature, in fact, probably hotter than a melange, which is a type of coffee served mainly in Vienna.
Well, there we go.
There you go.
With Peter and Paul.
There you go. Anyone awake? Anyone awake? No. Guinness, Harrison, Ames looking very, very strong at the moment in that leading 3. McFarlane just having to watch them away in the distance. Although McFarlane actually has dragged a couple of 10s out of the leading trio over the last couple of laps. Is it going to be enough to make a podium charge? We shall see. But as we know here in the World Touring Car Series, especially as Ross McFarlane knows, Paul. It's yes, you score good points in race 1 based on qualifying position. You know, you can set your pace at the front, but it's what happens in race 2 and 3 in the reverse grid draws which really makes the difference between a good night and a great night.
Yeah, see how close they got to the rear bumper there of Dan Martin, and I think Dan is playing a very sensible game here. He's the top of the AM drivers. We saw that incredible qualifying time of 3rd place for him, and he's just playing it simple in that RD SimSport car and just getting himself a good result, because as he pointed out earlier, his next AM driver in the standings, you have to look down to 18th place, Andreas Gilman. Now you might be thinking at home, well, that's not a problem. They're fighting in an AM championship. It's whatever position you finish in are the points you take into that championship. So unlike some series where you have separate points lists for Pro and AM, it's all one set of points in the race, and you take those points into your championship. So this right now is absolutely sensational for Dan Martin.
It is, yes, it really is, and his nearest competitor at the moment is Andreas Gilman in 18th, and Gilman sits 10th in the race at the 10th in the championship at the moment, in the AM championship, 218 points behind Dan Martin. So this is a huge scoop for Dan Martin. He just needs to keep it clean, and he did all the hard work with that qualifying lap, Paul. That was really what's going to be the biggest punch he can land at this stage.
Well, you did ask me, how important is qualifying around here. You do want to be starting up near the front, there's no doubt about that, because naturally you do get these little packs that form throughout the race, and you get the gaps between the cars, and once you get to the front of your little group, you then look forward and it's, well, I've got no slipstream, and the car in front is about 3 seconds ahead, and you're really not progressing forward much more than that. So Dan right now in 6th place is in a very good position for his championship. These drivers here, we've been seeing headlights flashing, we've been seeing them coming through, and the Pure Sims cars, David Baker and Rodriguez with Jack Sedgwick behind. David Baker, I actually raced in an iRacing official race around here. It was back in the old Kia Cup days, and I only bring this up because I beat him by 1,000th of a second across the line. So that's about the only time that I will ever beat David Baker on pace, because he's a rapid driver.
He is, and isn't it quite fitting that he's 6th in the... I think he's sitting... he qualified 6th, that's right. I knew there was something. He likes being 6th, doesn't he? That's his number. Car number 6 is David Baker.
I don't think he likes being 6th. I think he'd prefer to be first, to be honest.
Yes.
But
Yes. If you say that to him, he'll say, I'm going for first.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, Ross McFarlane is drawing in the 3 Sim RC cars up ahead. The gap from McFarlane to Ames in 3rd is now just a second, so he's pulled half a second out in the last few laps. He's just got to try and get a bit closer and try and pick up a little bit of slipstream as well. For the Sim RC cars, 1, 2, 3, there they come through the shot. They've got to be careful to really stay in close formation, not slow one another up at all, anything at all, and McFarlane will be right in on top of them. Question is, Paul, is it too early in the championship? Corentin Guinness is the defending champion, but he's not in the fight at this point. Kieran Harrison has got a nice lead in the championship. Does MRC bring in team orders here?
No, I don't think they do. I mean, we've seen it previous rounds that they'll wait until the final sort of 3 or 4 laps and then start scrapping amongst themselves. But I think right now they can see the threat of Ross McFarlane. I mean, they have got a little bit of lap traffic, so they're going to get a little bit of a slipstream off of that lap traffic. It's a 111 of Zanoni, so they'll get past Akram. Will Ross get past? Yes, he will. So that's one less car for McFarlane to worry about down in this race. But time is running out. Under 3 minutes. We're only looking at about 2 laps remaining at the line.
Yeah, it's going to be very close. I think we will. Just 2 laps to go here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So can McFarlane get on the case of those three Sim RC drivers? You can see Akram Zanoni in the Honda on the right-hand side there. As he's had a difficult start to the day. Was serving a qualifying penalty or qualifying ban and got caught up in that pile-up at Moss Corner. You can see a little bit of damage to the rear of that Honda Civic Type R. One of the very few Honda Civics in the field. Most of the drivers going for the Hyundai Elantra, which appears to just have the edge on pace at this stage. But we're only 3 weeks away from an iRacing update. Could change on its head, Paul.
It certainly could indeed. Yeah, iRacing builds can really change things here, and the series does run a little bit of an adjustment for the balance of performance. To be fair to them, here we go. There's a little bit of bump drafting going on. Nathan Ames pushing Kieran Harrison along to get Corentin Guinez. We saw Guinez last time out. He was absolutely nowhere because of a penalty in race 1, and it just ended up just escalating race after race after race. Just had bad to worse to even worse.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't Corentin's night, that's for sure. And yeah, he'll be hoping to try and get his championship campaign back on show again. And the thing is, it's all very calm and tranquil in race 1 if you're qualifying up the front like they did. But when you've got to fight your way through the pack, you just never know when you can get involved in. You don't even have to do anything wrong. You can get involved in others' accidents very easily. So he'll be fully aware of that. Kieran Harrison will certainly be fully aware of that as well, and trying to defend that championship lead. All Ross McFarlane can do is try and keep pressure on them, and he is trying as best he can. Now, looks like we will be on our... it's going to be tight, Paul, if we're going to be getting one lap or one lap more. I don't think we're supposed to. But I think we are going to force another lap. Oh, it's going to be close.
It's going to be tight, yeah, but I just think we're going to get the checkered flag here. But look at this. Moves a foot, and there's that Ames getting past Harrison.
It's certainly an attempt, that's for sure. As Ames on with the purple mirrors, the teal blue for Harrison. They nearly rub. Oh, they do, I think, rub ever so slightly going through the S's. Got to be careful there. First and second in the championship, but further ahead, it's the defending champion, Corentin Guinez, who wins then in race 1 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Kieran Harrison holds on to second from Nathan Ames. It's a 1-2-3 for Sim RC. Ross McFarlane comes home in 4th, Norbert Leitner in 5th, and a great run for Dan Martin in the AM class, 6th overall, with his teammate in the Pro class, James Holman, right in behind him.
That was all a bit tame, wasn't it, really? Compared to what we used to.
Like that.
Races 2 and 3, I think, will be a bit different here today. And yeah, the rest of the cars are coming through. It's such a big field here, and certainly I don't envy you for going through the grids of races 2 and 3. But yeah, really good clean racing. I really did like the race between Laubish and Sebula, because those two were going side by side for so many corners and keeping it clean. I think that's the key matter of that, is that they kept it clean. They gave each other space, and it was tremendous racing amongst those two. Just waiting for Dan White, who's one of the 4 Honda Civics out there today. And he's going to come across the line, then we should be able to give you some results. But yeah, some good racing, but Guinez just has that little bit of an edge.
Yeah, it seems so. Yeah, he's been very quick tonight. 0.2 of a second quicker than Harrison on the optimum lap, and about the same to Ames as well. So yes, you're right. Guinez definitely appears to have a little bit of an edge. But this is how they finish then for race 1 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Corentin Guinez, your winner then by half a second from championship leader Kieran Harrison, and Nathan Ames makes it a Sim RC 1-2-3. Ross McFarlane finished in 4th for Pure Sims Esports, with Norbert Leitner rounding out the top 5. Then, what a drive from the AM class winner Dan Martin comes home in 6th overall. James Holman came home in 7th, followed by Szilard Nagy, Jake Blackcall and David Baker. In 11th, it's Esteban Rodriguez, followed by Stephen Walker, Jack Sedgwick, Niklas Laubish, Jamie Rushworth, Sam Blees, Andreas Gilman, Craig Williams, Jaroslav Zebola and Terje Flatten. Then in 21st it was Miguel Freitas, followed by Spencer McCarthy, Matthias Pentola, Damon Mulqueen, Mike Pollard, Ben Gregory, Oyster Hereford, James Parker, El Neal and Hakan Ask. 31st was Ryan Hamilton, followed by Rafael Dressage, Neil Rocks, Scott Malcolm, Michael Polishek, Chris Chatterton, Richard Sibner, Nick Clibbins, Andreas Bachmann and Nathan Davies. The last few on the lead lap were Pete Newman, Alain McCain, Morgan Butler, Stuart Bickley and Dan White, with Sam Smith and Akran Zinoni finishing a lap down. Then not making it to the flag, Mark Johnston, Carl Johnson and Neil Stevenson. So, time for the Free M Pure Sims and Butt Kicker Spinny Wheel. Let's see what the reverse grid draw is going to be. Whatever number is drawn here, that is how many places we reverse from the order of race 1 to the grid for race 2, and it's going to be 21 is your number, placing Terje Flatten on pole position for race number 2. Well, that's a good opportunity there for Flatten, Paul, to get a good jump on the field.
I don't know if my timing screen is showing something different to you, Peter, because I'm seeing Miguel Freitas as on in 21st in that race.
You are quite correct. I've just refreshed it. Terje Flatten will be on the front row. He's on the front row, but for Freitas, that's a great opportunity because Freitas, of course, has won a race so far from that very position a few rounds ago.
Yeah, the tame Iberian Miguel Freitas is going to be loving being in that position for Impulse Racing and will be looking to try and break away at the front of this one. But, you know, the rest of them, though, Flatten, Cibula, he's starting in 3rd place in this race. That could be a real dark horse for this one. He got knocked about in that first race, which put him down the order then. But I do think that he's got a great opportunity here tonight. I'm just looking at the rest of my timing screen here. You know, Sam Blees could be on for a good shout as well. Nicholas Laubish, if he drives like he did in that first race with the clean overtakes that he put in, great opportunity for him as well. But Freitas, I think, has got a really good shout at this one, but he's got to try and keep it clean and tidy in the early stages.
Well, we'll see what they can do. I think Flatten and Freitas could get into a real ding-dong. Well, we'll take a very short break here on RaceSpotTV. Race 2 is coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Free M and Pure Sims, and also Butt Kicker as well for their support of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. It's Peter Mackay here alongside Paul Smith in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. One thing's for sure, Paul, the World Sim Racing organisers know how to put together a calendar, and I'll tell you what, looking at this run of 12 circuits that we're going to visit this season, we're in for a treat.
Well, one of the things that I was noticing when before we started this championship is I was looking through the schedule as to key points of this championship which could really change things about. Sebring next time out I think is going to be good fun. It's a tremendous circuit with some good overtaking opportunities there. But the Nürburgring, it is actually going to be one of the longer circuits that we go to, is the Nürburgring, even though it is the sort of shorter version of it. I do believe that there was a little bit of discussion as to whether to go to the Grand Prix layout, but I'm always of the opinion of no, we're going to the Nürburgring for the ring. Let's go out there and have some fun. Suzuka, that's always a challenge for the drivers out there, but Silverstone National for a championship finale, lots of laps, sort of just over a minute long in a lap time, plenty of slipstreaming. That is going to be a one heck of a championship finale.
It is. I mean, Silverstone National is about as close to a oval racing style of racing as you'll get on a normal road circuit. So, and I would also throw in and spot the bias here. I think our penultimate round, Knock Hill, that could really throw a cat amongst the pigeons. If you've not got a comfortable championship lead, you're going to be nervous going into that penultimate round of the championship. An opportunity, perhaps, if you're on the chase. Magny-Cours is another completely unknown quantity as well. It's not a circuit the drivers will have a huge amount of time behind the wheel at. So how that races, Paul, that's a big unknown for all of us.
Certainly is, and it's a real challenge. Of course, it takes me back to when I used to be a young boy and watching Formula One and watching the French Grand Prix. I always remember seeing Michael Schumacher actually wiping out Ayrton Senna down at the hairpin at the start of, I believe it was the 1992 Grand Prix there. So yeah, happy memories of that venue. But no, it's a real challenge for those drivers, is that track, and especially in touring cars. It's going to be really intriguing evening of racing, especially through that final chicane. They'll be launching the cars over that.
Yes, they will, and that's where that Hyundai Elantra appears to have the advantage, where it just seems to be able to smash these curbs and just handle it, and the damping of that just seems to be able to handle it better than others. Also at Magny-Cours, that you mentioned that hairpin, so tight, big long braking zone. There's going to be some dive bomb manoeuvres later for sure, especially as we head towards the business end of the championship. We've seen it many times where in the World Sim Racing leagues, both in touring cars and the GTs, where it looks like the championship's all done, and then in the last 3 rounds it flips on its head. And you know, those last 3 rounds, it's very careful curation from the series organisers, and bravo to them. I want to talk about Kieran Harrison, our championship leader, Paul, because he's been to say he's been thereabouts, it sounds unkind, because he's been a front runner for so long. It just hasn't quite, the whole championship hasn't quite patched together. He's had plenty of race winning pace, he's won loads of races, he's been in top teams, able to win, but he's just always been on just the wrong side of it. This season, it's all going his way so far. Yeah,
it is, and you know, he's had sort of issues and getting involved in little, involvement of sort of incidents over the years, and he really has not been able to quite put together a championship run. I think this season actually is his best opportunity, because he's really doing well so far in this season. He is putting in a tremendous effort. The whole team, SimRC, have been absolutely imperious from when I've been joined the commentary team from round number 2, of course. Yeah, it's an intriguing one for Kieran. He's got tremendous pace, but the whole SimRC team seem to have the pace and also have this car dialed in with all the experience that they have in various different championships and endurance racing with this very car as well. So it's a car that they know like the back of their hand. And something that I found out from competing in this championship against those teams is they just seem to have this extra edge that everybody else sort of looks around and says, well, what are they doing to the car? Because we're trying everything and we just cannot match them.
Yeah, well, I think that's where having a good bunch of drivers, and because there's not just one or two of them, they've got a really good handful of very fast touring car drivers that they've brought together, and what they're able to get out of these machines is definitely an edge at the moment, and it's up to Pure Sims to answer. They've been a force for so long in this type of racing. Ross McFarlane's kind of been the team leader, certainly, in this style, especially of racing with touring cars. Can they catch MRC?
Every week that we see Ross, he's there. He's loitering. Mm-hmm. When we saw it in that first race, he finished behind them by about a second. He's there or thereabouts, but he needs to be starting beating that Sim RC team now. He needs to be getting consistent points runs over those drivers. He needs them to actually get involved in some incidents and to get themselves tripping over each other and concentrating on themselves trying to win a championship, when Ross, I think all the focus of Pure Sims, you're absolutely right, is on him. He needs to find those results over Sim RC and to get them going his way, because they're just being so dominant.
Yeah, they have been. I think that's going to be, it's definitely going to be something that needs to happen quickly, I think, to start putting that pressure on in terms of the championship points race. Thanks so much to you all watching here on RaceSpotTV today for round 4 of the World Touring Car Series. Apologies for the delay. We're just waiting to get into the second race. The drivers are all raring to go, so just getting that side technically sorted out. It won't be long, and we'll have all the action for you. You will not miss a moment here on RaceSpotTV. In the meantime, do let us know where you're watching from. Who are you cheering for? Seeing some great support coming in. As always, hello to Karen Broughton, cheering on Sim RC, and Kieran Harrison and the guys. Well, certainly a very pleasing result for you there, Karen. A 1, 2, 3 for your boys. Hello to Twiggy NL. Hello to Case of Water, who's cheering for Nomad Sim Racing. And Jason Dilworth, Sebula and Laubish, take a bow. I can only echo that, Paul.
I'll tell you what, one person who is watching who wishes he wasn't watching, of course, is Patrick Faulkner. So best wishes from us in the commentary box here is his DCW team. Although he did point out it's one less DCW car to get involved in an incident. I mean, I'm not saying anything. You've said that.
He said that.
Not me.
Well, we wish you all the best, Patrick. Hope you're able to enjoy the coverage at least, and cheer on your DCW racing teammates as well. Haha! Race cars going around the track. That's what we like to see. So we're only just a few minutes away from kickoff for race number 2. The drivers have a very quick familiarization session, just a few minutes long, and then they get underway for the second of 3 20-minute sprint races here in round 4 of the World Touring Car Series. Kieran Harrison, your championship leader, second in race 1, and Dan Martin, your championship leader in the AM class. A dominant win for him as well. So the form book showing true so far, Paul, but our spinny wheel and our 21 car reverse grid surely puts that, flips it on its head a little.
Yeah, it certainly does, and we'll be getting to see how that reverse grid all pans out here as we get a little bit of a glimpse of just sort of how the session is going here in the warm-up. Of course, it is just a warm-up session for these drivers just to, as you say, acclimatise to themselves. One important point that I'm going to point out about this session compared to the last one, so we saw track temperature of 45 degrees Celsius. The track temperature here, thank you very much to our producer Conor Maddock, 32 degrees these drivers will be able to just push these tyres a little bit harder in this race compared to race number 1.
Yeah, we should see some slightly quicker lap times in race number 2 with that ever so slightly cooler track temperature. I say ever so slightly, quite a bit cooler track temperature. The drivers definitely will notice that. A bit more cloud cover here in this session, and that's one thing that continues to amaze me, Paul, about the sophistication of this iRacing platform, that all of these weather conditions all play an effect just like they would in the outdoor world into this format of racing. The realism level that the software can produce is just remarkable.
Wait until they bring rain into this championship.
Oh, well, they had to bring Knock Hill first before doing that.
But yeah, I mean, it's bad enough with cold tyres and brakes on lap 1 in this series for car handling, but I can't imagine having cold tyres, brakes and rain at the same time as well. I think that would bring a whole new thing. iRacing did put out an article on their website just to let people know what they are working on, and they haven't promised it this year, but they've said that they are working with a goal of getting rain into the sim for this year. So yeah, I think that would really put a cat amongst the pigeons. I don't think we'll see it this season in the championship, and even if iRacing did implement it, say in one of their quarterly builds whilst the championship was ongoing, I don't think that the admins would actually implement it straight away, and I think that would be really sensible for doing that. So yeah, I do think that iRacing will sort of push that development as long as they can into the year to make sure they get it right, because there's nothing worse than a company having the pressure of their audience and of their consumers and their people who buy the product pushing for something that's in development to be put out early, because you're bound to get it wrong. You know, just ask the developers of Cyberpunk about that. But yeah, certainly when it comes, I think it'll certainly really put a cat amongst the pigeons there.
I think so. It's a very well explained, Paul. I think as well is that there's got to be a time of bedding in from a hardware point of view. I think we've taken on, just in the last 3 years, they've taken on such a step in accessibility of top-level simulation technology in the home. And you know, that comes down to the hardware, from the wheels to the pedals to everything like that, but also, you know, the actual computers that people have at home which run the program now. And if you throw wet weather into that, of course it does put more weight on the machine. But of course, as with any technology, as it becomes more readily available, the price comes down and stuff like that. So it won't just be from like turning a light switch on. It will be a kind of gradual introduction to overall life on the iRacing service, I would suspect. Yeah,
and anybody who's been involved in launching a new product, you'll know that anxiety that you'll have of putting that product out into the marketplace and waiting for that response, that initial response as to how people react to it. And you know, there are other sim racing titles right now that would have had that apprehension, say about I don't know, last weekend, say at an event in Poland. But you know, it's really how people react to that, and then understand. And I think it's important that people understand that if you know, things take time to develop, and just because something is like one way at the start doesn't mean that they can't make changes to improve things down the line. And that's what pretty much all the sim racing companies do out there, is they do make changes further down the line to improve things, and for ease of life changes as well as improvements to how things drive and that. So yeah, Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent for us here,
Well,
Peter. It's almost like we had to have a bit of time to fill.
I like it when we have, because when the green flags drops, we won't have time to talk about that or crisp sandwiches or anything.
Crisp sandwiches.
Absolutely. That was round 2, I think. But yes, I'm just glad, Paul, that we live in an era that we get to have this kind of technology in our own home.
Yes.
I think it's just amazing. I really do. I love it.
I can think back to ZX Spectrum and Commodore 64, and our producer Connery Maddock will be thinking, "What on earth are those things?"
Is that a mobile phone? Well, just before we age Paul Smith even further, it's time to read out our 50-car grid for race number 2 here of round 4 of the World Touring Car Series. And thank you very much for your patience here on RaceSpotTV. The action will be worth it. We can promise you that. Thank you so much to you all watching here on RaceSpotTV. 20 minutes of racing coming up, brought to you by Pure Sims, Free M and Butt Kicker around the beautiful, swooping, undulating Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Miguel Freitas will start on pole position alongside Terrier Flat, and then it's Yaroslav Sebula, Craig Williams, Andreas Gilman and Sam Blease. Then it's Jamie Rushworth, Nicholas Laubish, Jack Sedgwick, Stephen Walker, Esteban Rodriguez and David Baker. Then it's Jake Blackhall, Szilard Nagy, James Holman, Dan Martin, Norbert Leitner and Ross McFarlane. Then Nathan Amis, Kieran Harrison, Corentin Gaines, Spencer McCarthy, Matthias Pentola and Damon Mulqueen round out the 24. Then it's Mike Pollard, Ben Gregory, Oisin Herfer, James Parker, El Neil and Hakan Ask. Rounding your top 30. Well, off we go. The drivers are keen to get going. Miguel Freitas will lead us away from pole position. The revs begin to rise, waiting for the green flag to drop. We've got a jump starter in the mid-pack. I think it was Nicholas Laubish, and off we go. Miguel Freitas takes us away into race number 2 here. Down they go to turn 1. Freitas hangs it over for now, with Flatten right there in second. Sebula there in third as well. And Craig Williams, our very own Frank Mila in the Soul Audi, he's right there in 5th position. Good start from him.
And through turn 2, those cold tyres, it is so tricky in these early going in this lap around here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You're absolutely right though, Peter. Jump start for Nicholas Laubish. He has a stop and hold penalty.
And that's crucifying in a 20-minute sprint race as well. So again, we said that Nicholas Laubish has had an up and down season. Well, a good run in race 1 has been totally negated by a poor, by a mistake of the start, and stop and hold penalty. Very, very punishing indeed. Does the punishment fit the crime? Well, debate that one in the comments, folks. But much better run through Moss Corner this time, Paul. The drivers all with their eyes and ears out for any trouble, and they managed to get through clean.
Yeah, they did, and really good driving from everybody out there on this opening lap, considering it is that reverse grid race. And already you see Nathan Amis handed up into the top 16. Although I am seeing yellow flags out there on my track map, and I think Mike Pollard for DCW. And one of the impulse cars, that is El Neil.
Oh dear. Not good stuff for the car 216 of El Neil. Let's see what happened then. So that sort of teal blue and green impulse car on the outside of the Mario Andretti straightaway looks to have plenty of room for now as they come in. And one of the DCW cars gets turned across and kicks off a multi-car reaction, and it hard into the wall. Now, can El Neil get it moving and get to pit lane? It's not far from pit lane there, and you do have a fast repair where you can get a fresh car. So what happened to the DCW racing car? I think got turned, got dumped by one of the geodesic cars. That's a bit naughty.
Naughty is one word for it. Absolutely sent into the wall is another way of putting it.
Which is a naughty thing to do.
Yes, it is. As they're going up the back straight. But yeah, it's if you're trying to bump draft towards the end of the straight, just getting in towards the braking zone, if you've got a car in front of you who's maybe like an AM driver, for example, Laubish, this is after his jump start. There you see that jump start. just that jump start. Now you see, in Australia, I remember there was a V8 Utes race at Phillip Island. The driver jump started that much that he just went, oh, I might as well just go. And he went. He just had a 15-second lead at the front of the pack because he's going to get a penalty anyway. I might as well just resolve, try and minimise that penalty, and he just drove away.
I remember Jorge Lorenzo doing that in a MotoGP race. Very similar thing. What's happened to Ben Gregory, our stalwart of the championship, the AM champion? Now, does he get a help away here? He's got someone right behind him again. Oh dear, another geodesic car. I hope it's not the same one.
Well, I mean, with that one, to be fair to the geodesic car, Ben does open up that inside, and he is alongside when Ben turns in, so it is more of a tricky one, is that one, but we seem to be getting a little bit more robust manoeuvres being made, shall we say, out there.
Welcome to race 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Terje Flatten's got the lead, so he's pinched the lead from Miguel Freitas, and Jaroslav Sebula's right there in third. And great start from Andreas Gilman. 10th in the AM class coming into this round, and up there 4th overall with fellow AM class driver Craig Williams right behind in the Audi. Is one of the SimLab cars off. It's Jamie Rushworth, and loses several places as one of the SimRC cars goes past. That's Ames. Great start from Ames.
Yeah, up to 11th now for MS.
Well,
this is two drivers who are under the Pure Sim stable. If your name is Ash Sutton, look away now, because Rodriguez is down the inside, and Rushworth's just is determined to give him space, which, fair play, if you're under the same awning, you don't want to have contact, and, there's at some point you do have to turn in there, Jamie, and unfortunately got out on the marbles, onto the dirty stuff, and, went off into the scenery.
Well, it's certainly top marks for politeness anyway, that's for sure. A geodesic car leads at the front. That crew have been in a little bit of controversy so far in the opening 5 minutes, but they lead the way with Terje Flatten from Miguel Freitas. Then it's Jaroslav Sebula. We had a good, certainly a busy race one, and showing good pace there as well. Andreas Gilman is your AM class leader with Craig Williams, the Frank Biela of World Touring Car Series in the sole Audi, trying to make a move around the outside now for that 4th overall, and Gilman says, not on your life, pal. Closes the door. Dan Martin, our race 1 winner in the AM class, he's actually up to 15th position as well, so a couple of places gained for Dan.
Wouldn't Craig Williams actually be more like a John Bincliffe rather than Frank Biela? Because he's British, so go for the more British approach, because John Bincliffe was Frank Biela's teammate in 1996 in the British Touring Car Championship.
That he was, but he is also quite hairy, so could he be the Emanuele Pirro?
Wow. I mean, let's not go down any more comparisons.
Well, I know. Well, actually, an Audi does have the lap record here in a race at least. In 2008, Dindo Capello, an Italian in an Audi, 222.25 kilometers an hour average speed.
That was in one of the American Le Mans series, wasn't it?
Correct. Yeah. Audi R10 TDI, which devoured the Mario Andretti straightaway like Morrison's car park.
Other supermarkets are.
Yes, yeah. They just tend to be smaller for some reason. I don't know why.
I'll tell you what. The SimRC drivers, yes, they are making their way through. MS is up to 10th place. 10th place now. He's up 9 places. The problem is that these cars, they're so evenly matched, and around this track especially, it's very difficult to make moves forward here. But we've not reached the halfway point of the race yet, so don't write them off yet, as Freitas looking for the lead.
Well, the man from Porto having a go. Oh, just misses out on making contact with Terje Flatten. They're going to go side by side now. Sebula, he knows what it's like to get his elbows out here at this circuit this evening, and gets the move done. So Freitas goes from having a look for first, and he has gone back to 3rd position as Craig Williams pops up the inside there of Gilman, and more bad news for DCW Racing. Bickley off the road. Now, he came into this round second in the AM Championship. So what's happened to Stuart Bickley? Looks like a mistake on its own. He's all on his own at this stage. Oh my goodness.
Watch out, Morgan. No.
Where are you going?
Oh, I can already sense Conor Maddock is currently raging at the screen at that rejoin from Morgan Butler, and
should know better.
Yes, but what happened in front? Was it something that happened in front that Morgan got involved? Oh, there's another car that was off.
Goodness.
Good grief! That's a huge accident.
Oh my word. Well, Neil Rocks, he was right in the middle of all of that. So poor old Stuart Bickley actually had nowhere to go there. It's just all arms and elbows. Let's get a look then from...
Yes, there's a car off. It's bounced back on. Bang. And then... Yeah, where do you go?
But yeah, he was too late to react there. Oh, it's chaos. Now that's inexcusable. That really, but that's the stewards need to throw the book at.
Oh, it's Polacek. It's Michael Polacek. Is that's had that now? Now the question is, if he's hit the tyre barrier, even if you're holding your brakes on that grass, the car will just come back on. There you go. He's lost control of the car. He's onto the grass. Bang! Into the tyre barrier. He's holding his brakes. There's absolutely nothing that he can do there.
No, that was just poor fortune. However, there is no excuse for Morgan Butler, who was under control of the car, with plenty of room to turn around and rejoin straight as well, but decides to go at a 90-degree angle to the road. Oh, that's poor. Really poor for Morgan Butler. 6th in the Pro Class Championship.
What on earth is happening in this second race? Because, Stuart Bickley's just... not Sam Blease, sorry. Has gone off there all of his own volition. But, what on earth has got into the water in this second race? Because they've all just gone, we're in the second race, we've got to hit each other. Speaking of hitting each other, slightest of contact, onto the rear bumper. Stephen Walker trying his best and did incredible, actually, not to wipe out anybody else.
Yeah, what if they've all been on the Labatt's in that long break between race 1 and 2? Other Canadian beers are available. Goodness gracious, it is all... Yeah, the gloves really have come out in race 2. We mentioned it, that's where it really does shake the order up. It's a replay of what happened to Walker, who was with one of the Pure Sims cars, though. I didn't quite catch the number on it.
It was one of the Sim RC cars that actually just collected him on the rear bumper, and that's what pushed him into that. And that's why they end up where they are. Flatten, by the way, has run away at the front because Sebula and Freitas are busy tripping over each other. And this is the problem with racing like this. If you start fighting, you let the leader run away.
Yeah, well, that's Terry Flatten is taking that opportunity. And Sebula and Freitas, they're now, their fight is for second place now. Really, Flatten's got a great opportunity to just clear off here. Craig Williams, I think I'm going to stick with the Frank Biela, actually, because I think Frank Biela won more races than John Linkcliffe, and Craig got an overall win at Road Atlanta last year, which is when he was christened with the name Frank Biela, and he's on course for an AM Class win here. He's now a few positions ahead of Andreas Gilman.
Yeah, certainly been moving forward. I think Freitas would have been liking Gilman to have been there with him, teammate and all, to try and just provide some rear gunner action. But there's still a little bit of separation. Blackhall ahead of the battle between the geodesic car and Jack Sedgwick there. So Sedgwick and McCarthy then swap of positions, or attempted swap of positions for Sedgwick, who's fallen down 10 places in this race. So not a good opening half to the second race for Jack in the Veloster.
No, and as usual, I love the fact that Jack Sedgwick always goes for the alternate vehicle choice. Whatever championship it is, he always goes a little bit off-piste. Never goes with the obvious choice here in this championship is the Hyundai Elantra, but he's gone for the little Veloster. He was in the Honda last year, and I dare say if the Alfa Romeo Giulietta ever comes to iRacing, he'll use that for the following season.
Yeah, I mean, if that Alfa Romeo does come to the championship, then and to iRacing, then yeah, a lot of people will get excited because, well, it's an Alfa. You can't call yourself a petrol head if you haven't owned an Alfa.
I've never subscribed to that theory myself.
Really?
I think, yeah.
An Alfa Romeo V6 is
it's a lovely engine.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if I win the lottery, I would buy one of those ITC Alfa Romeos with that's like 100 Patek Philippe watches glued together for an engine. Yeah, that's what
Like
that would be very cool. Yes. Very, very cool machine. Yeah, I prefer. Call me conservative. I like a bit of German engineering that's built to last. Anyway, Craig Williams leads in a bit of German engineering in the Audi RS3 in the AM class. Terje Flatten leads overall, but the two Sim RC cars barging their way through the field there as well. Guinness, our winner with the car number 1, winner in race 1. Car number 36, Nathan Ames, trying to make his way through with the purple streaks, and Kieran Harrison, our championship leader, just a couple of positions behind. And for Harrison, into the top 10, he's barely been out the top 10 in this championship. In fact, I think he's finished in the top 10 in every race, which is one of the reasons why he's leading this championship, but doing exactly what he needs to do here right now, Paul, letting the attrition happen ahead of him.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. You know, if you know that you can't get through to win the race or get on the podium, then just get yourself some good points. That's what a championship like this takes. Is you've got to be consistent. You've got to get yourself consistently some good points each and every round. There are drop scores, don't forget to take into account in this series, but you still want to be consistent, Mr. Consistency, so that you then take as many points as possible into that championship finale.
Yeah, and I think Kieran knows that. He's learnt that lesson the hard way. He's been in the position to fight for championships in the past, and has really had to come away licking his wounds after being, getting involved in others' incidents many times, not of his own doing as well. So he's going to be acutely aware of that in that number 93 Sim RC car. And a little bit further up the road, Craig Williams is under a lot of pressure from car number 35, Esteban Rodriguez, who came into this round 8th in the championship in the pro class. So Rodriguez will be desperate to make a move on Williams and get on the case of Jaroslav Sebula, who in turn has lost the scent of Miguel Freitas, who's out in a lonely second position right now.
Yeah, Freitas has just been able to pull away that. Now that's a geodesic car pulled over to the side. Was that Please? I think it was Sam Please. So not been his day out there in that Hydra Race geodesic racing car. And is it just a case of a trip onto the grass and you carry too much speed into there, Sam? And well, car meet tyre wall.
Oh, that is a bit of a wall of champions here at Mosport. It's just so tempting to just carry that little bit more speed in there, and yeah, maybe just couldn't quite get it to turn in. But Craig Williams using the straight line speed of that Audi RS3 to good effect here. It's a bit of a balance of a circuit here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You've got the big swooping corners through the first part, but then it's a long drag up the hill, up the Mario Andretti straightaway here. He's right in behind Jaroslav Sebula there, and going to try and pop out to the outside. That's risky. Let's see if it's going to play out for Craig Williams, and he's left the door open. Is Rodriguez going to have a little nibble here as well? No. Oh, Williams is going to try and tuck it in there again. Constantina back and forward. He's left the door open. Here comes Rodriguez, and oh, you have to say, Paul, Williams really left himself open to that, but not quite yet. Don't say it too quick. Oh, he's managed to close it back in again. Great racing.
This is fantastic. Oh. Craig Williams, I mean, he right now, in terms of an AM Championship point scoring, he's in a good place. He doesn't need to push forward and to try and get onto the third step of the podium, but he wants it, and you can never deny that Craig Williams isn't entertaining, because my goodness, he's an exuberant driver when it comes to making some moves. Nathan the Mess is now all over the back of Esteban Rodriguez as well, heading into Moss, and Ames has got his teammate Aguines right behind, and they're sort of working as a little bit of a tag team through there, and Sebula off into the weeds and into the wall.
Oh, what a really costly mistake there for Jaroslav Sebula off the road.
Was he helped?
At Mosport. Well, that's true. Was it a mistake? It looks like he's clear of Williams, coming through turn 4, balancing it on the edge there and hard on the brakes. There's a lot to do, and just carries that little bit too much speed. It's so easy to do there. So many drivers have done it, and oh, look at that, watching all those cars going by and watching points just sifting through his fingers. That's absolutely gutting for Jaroslav Sebula. And Semper Racing 5th in the team championship as well, so that's points down the drain for them as well.
I wouldn't, but do you know what? This race has flown by because we're on to the final lap already. Craig Williams under pressure. He's in that third place now, is Craig, but he has got a whole heap of fast drivers behind him.
Well, this is a real big opportunity for Nathan Ames as well. Kieran Harrison is sitting 7th at the moment. If Ames can get past Williams, he'll get a podium. Now remember, Ames came into this round with 65 points behind Harrison, so this would really help his championship campaign. But Craig Williams, he wants that. He really wants that overall podium. He had an overall win last season. He really wants that podium in this sole Audi, holding up the honour for Ingolstadt and Audi Sport. Now, Terje Flatten, is he going to reach the checkered flag and push an extra lap here, or are we going to get the checkered flag? I think it's going to be the checkered. Yes, it is. So Terje Flatten comes into the S's then from the front row of the grid, taking full advantage of that. And Terje Flatten is going to be a winner here in the World Touring Car Series for the first time this season. And is Williams going to hang on? Yes, he is. Craig Williams wins in the AM class in the Audi. The Frank Biela of World Touring Car Series on the podium. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Craig there. To get onto the podium, the overall podium as well as an amateur. Really, really good stuff from Craig. With Andreas Gilman finishing in 8th place. That's some good points for Craig over championship compactorates in this series. We're looking a little bit further down. This is the recovering Morgan Butler and Stuart Bickley. Those two, of course, getting tangled together after Morgan's less than ideal rejoin, and Bickley's going to finish ahead in that DCW racing car, and nicely across the line. Just a couple more cars to go across the line, then we will be all set for the final race. But do you know what? A little bit of drama in that one, a little bit more contact than I would have liked, but certainly really enjoyable, especially seeing Craig Williams getting that third place.
Oh, yeah, that was, to say a little bit of drama, there was plenty of drama going on there as well. Oof. Quite a few incidents now. We had 21 drivers reversed for race 2. What are we going to have for race 3? This is critical now as well. The drivers will be watching this intently to see if this reverse grid is going to fall their way or not. It's going to be 23. That's a big one. Big reverse grid for race number 3, and by my reckoning, say it slowly and quietly, James Parker. Paul, does that correlate with your
That
info?
correlates with my screen as well, yes.
Good. We finish each other's sentences, yes. So James Parker then in the AM class will be on the front row of the grid alongside Jaroslav Sebula. So Sebula will get another crack at this. Well, this is how they finish then. Terje Flatten, your winner by 1.5 seconds. A super drive from the Forum podcast by Geodesic Driver. Likewise for Miguel Freitas for Impulse Racing. Good points for the championship for the Portuguese. Then Craig Williams, winner in the AM class and third overall, an overall podium for the sole Audi driver. Nathan Ames for Sim RC, brilliant drive through the field, fourth place with Esteban Rodriguez right behind him. Corentin Guinness and Kieran Harrison also ascended the field into the top 10, good stuff from them. Andreas Gilman was 8th, with David Baker in 9th, and Szilard Nagy rounding out the top 10. James Holman was 11th for RD Simsport, followed by Ross McFarlane, who didn't quite make the same progress through the field as the Sim RC cars managed, and Dan Martin, another solid finish in the AM class, second in the class, 13th overall. Jake Blackhall was 14th in the first of the Hondas, then it was Spencer McCarthy, Jack Sedgwick, Norbert Leitner, Jamie Rushworth, Oisin Hereford, and Matthias Pentola finished in 20th. Then it was Damon Mulqueen in 21st, followed by Jaroslav Sebula, James Parker, Hakan Ask, Andreas Bachmann, Ryan Hamilton, Stephen Walker, Ben Gregory, Sam Smith, and Niklas Laubisch. Top 30 covered just by 30 seconds. Chris Chatterton was 31st, followed by Pete Newman, Neil Stevenson, Nathan Davies, Neil Rock, Stuart Bickley, Morgan Butler, Scott Malcolm, Mike Pollard, and Richard Simner. Many of those drivers involved in that mid-race pile-up. Alain McCain and Nick Clibbins were your last two drivers on the lead lap. Then, finishing just off the lead lap was Sam Blease after a troublesome race. Carl Johnston didn't make it to the finish, and neither did Michael Polishek, Rafael Dussaz, El Neil, Akram Zanoni, or Daniel White. Nathan Ames taking the fastest lap of the race. Well, Paul, Jaroslav Sebula, a front row start for race 3. He's not going to get many more chances as good as this one.
Well, I mean, you know, if you don't get it first time, you got to try again. And Sebula, he's got a great chance. Yeah, I said he was going to be a good shout for a race win in that second race. I think he's definitely got a great chance for this third race. I think it's just one little mistake that everybody, and I mean everybody, has made right there at that corner that you can see at Moss Corner, and just put one little wheel on the grass, and before you know it, it's just pulling you into the runoff, and there's nothing that you can do about it. There's nothing worse than having that happen when you're up there at the front.
Well, it's certainly going to be an exciting race 3. We're going to take a very short break here on RaceSpotTV. Peter Mackay and Paul Smith will be back in just a moment with coverage of race number 3. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV, where we are preparing for race number 3 here in round 4 of the World Touring Car Series, brought to you on RaceSpotTV. It's Peter Mackay here, alongside Paul Smith in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. And Paul, this is an important race here to get that final sprint out the way and try and seal up a good night at the office, put some good points in the bank, and get ready for next week.
Good if I unmuted my microphone, wouldn't it? Yes, it's certainly going to be an interesting one with 23 cars reversed as well. So it's the second biggest reverse grid we can have here in this championship. So definitely one to look forward to. But James Parker, we've not really touched on him tonight. Really good turnaround for him to be starting on pole position, but another driver in the AMS, Damon Mulqueen, will actually be starting in third place, second row of the grid. I think he has got a good opportunity after having a couple of bad rounds recently, after being the early pace setter in the AM Championship.
Yeah, there's like you said, Damon was very quick earlier in the season. Hopefully that will help him to regain his mojo a little bit and see how he can get on as well. But there is some quick drivers hanging in the just the immediate background. Jamie Rushworth, Norbert Leitner's in there as well, Jack Sedgwick. It's really, really exciting. Also, Dan Martin, in terms of thinking about the AM class, he's starting in a good position as well. He's going to start on the 5th row of the grid with only a couple of AM class drivers ahead of him. So his night could he's got it really in front of him to really seal a very good night at the office and solidify his championship lead.
And we saw the pace that he had in race number 1, of course, didn't we? Okay, he lost a few positions from where he started off in third place in that opening race of the night, but he still did get a really good 6th place in the opening race. Being up there near the front again for race number 3, it's that nice swing around of points for an AM driver to be able to get a really good haul here today. So yeah, Dan Martin, he could be well on his way to securing a comfortable lead at the front of the AM Championship.
And particularly, you look at the two rivals who are closest to him in the AM Championship points. Stuart Bickley, not a good day so far. Akram Zanoni, really not a good day for either of those drivers. So it's not just Dan's points that he's put on the board, it's been the demise of his rivals as well, which is really going to hurt them and help him.
Well, Zanoni's not finished a race yet tonight. I think this is definitely his worst performance of the championship so far in that Honda, and he knows it, and he'll be the difficult part if you're in the AM Championship and you are having a bad night, and it's so easy to have a bad night in the AM Championship because you are naturally in that pack. There's nowhere to hide in that pack at all, and one little mistake could just have a really big chain reaction and you can end up being involved in somebody else's accident. The thing that you need to do now, if you've not finished either of the first 2 races, is still show up, is still take to the grid, and to still try and get some points out of this final race, because you never know. I've seen championships won by a single point. I've seen championships go to a tie and go on a tiebreaker. You never know, and you get every point that you possibly can.
I totally agree. And I mean, Paul, you've raced in this championship. It's a brutal format. It's a brutal form of racing. They're very well matched together. They're good bedfellows, the format in this type of racing. For those drivers who maybe had a difficult night, whether that be by their own making or by the making of others, to be blunt, how do you actually get yourself kind of up for that third race? How did you do it, certainly in your experience, if you'd had a difficult start to the night? Because let's be honest, everybody's had them, but how did you handle it personally?
Lots of swearing. It was. If you had a bad first race, it's like, right, okay, let's forget that. Let's get into the second race. Let's get some points and try and sneak ourselves into, if we can, into that reverse grid area and try and sneak a reverse grid pole. you then have that setback of a second race of a DNF. It is tough. When you're, especially when you're involved in the championship fight. I wasn't involved in the NAM championship fight in this series. I was in other touring car series, and when you have the 1 and 2 races that end in a DNF, you really think, do I really bother? But then you take to the grid, and you're normally a little bit negative, and you're thinking, oh, what could possibly happen this final race of the night? You can't take that mentality into it, unfortunately, and I think that's part of the reason why I was actually stopping enjoying it, because I just had such a bad run last season of results. It was a case of, do you know what? I think this championship is more competitive than I am as a driver, and therefore I stepped aside. But it is difficult if you're involved in that championship fight to keep motivated and to keep pushing forward, and there's only so much you can take before you think that the world is against you.
Well, I hope you're enjoying your new seat alongside me, Paul. Hopefully that's it's an easier night for you. I hope so. I hope so. We have some laughs. That's the main thing. We're smiling up here in our lording it in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. The drivers, I'm sure, will be the nerves will be jangling as always. I always find I get very nervous for before getting into a race. I was doing the Bathurst 12-hour on iRacing last weekend, and I was really, I was starting the race, and goodness me, once I got a couple of laps under my belt, I was okay, but goodness me, I was jangly for those first couple of laps.
I will say the only time I ever felt nervous in this championship is if I'd happened to fall into the reverse grid slots, and I was starting either front row,
the dizzying heights.
Yeah. Well, no,
yeah,
it was. You know, when you're a second and a half off the pace of the fast drivers, you feel like a bit of imposter syndrome up at the front there, and yeah, I felt more nervous for those starts than I did if I was further back in the field, because I felt, well, that's more my natural position in this championship, and yeah, that's only the time really when I would get the nerves going, was starting up near the front. One thing that will be helping those drivers yet again, Peter, we can see it there on screen, track temperature's down another 5 degrees.
That's perfect. Yeah, 27 degrees Celsius on the track is ideal conditions, I would say, for these touring car drivers, with a nice early evening Canadian sunset as well. Beautiful. Lovely. Well, in this brief warm-up session, Norbert Leitner quickest with a 125.559, but just 400ths behind him is Dan Martin. So good pace from Dan Martin. Ross McFarlane just 900ths of a second off the pace of Leitner. Yes, it's just practice. Yes, it's just a warm-up. But nobody's out on track touring around just having a cruise. They all will be at least a fast pace. Maybe not absolute maximum attack, but it does give us an impression of who's up for it and who maybe isn't. So, just the last few seconds in this session, we will go through the grid for our 50-car grid for the final race of the day here in round 4 of the World Touring Car Series from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville in Ontario. 2.5 miles the distance around this gorgeous circuit, which has given us such fantastic racing so far over the first 2 20-minute sprint races. It will be James Parker who starts on pole position alongside Jaroslav Sebula. Damon Mulqueen and Matthias Penteler are on row 2, followed by Oisin Hereford and Jamie Rushworth. Norbert Leitner will start from 7th alongside Jack Sedgwick. Then it's Spencer McCarthy in 9th, with Jake Blackall starting from 10th, followed by Dan Martin and Ross McFarlane. Then it's James Holman, Shilard Nagy, David Baker, Andreas Gilman, Kieran Harrison, Corin Guinness, Ed Esteban Rodriguez, and Nathan Ames starting 20th. Then it's Craig Williams, Miguel Freitas, Terje Flatten, and Hakan Ask. Then Andreas Bachmann, Ryan Hamilton, Stephen Walker, Ben Gregory, Sam Smith, and Niklas Laubrecht round out the top 30, followed by Chris Charrington, Pete Newman, Neil Stevenson, Nathan Davies, and Neil Rocks are your first 35 cars of our 50. Revs are rising, the drivers are ready to go for the final race of the day here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Off we go. We're racing here in the World Touring Car Series once again. And James Parker holds pole from pole position, or does he? Jaroslav Sebula is going to hang it right around the outside and get the inside for corner number 2. Really impressive stuff there from Jaroslav Sebula, and Sebula hits the front.
Good start then from Jaroslav, and that's what he needed to do. He needs to try and run away whilst he can, whilst the rest of them all duke it out. Parker there, oh, that Pure Sims car, contact with the Impulse Racing car, and I think that was Leitner. Leitner's in the wall, oh my goodness, and that was Rushworth who made the contact.
Oh, there's cars off all over the place as well. Oh, dear me. One of the geodesic cars hits the tyre wall, and that brings him all the way back into the road. There's DCW cars off everywhere. Simlard car off. The Impulse Racing car off. Oh, what a chaotic opening sequence. It seems, Paul, that Jamie Rushworth, by some form of miracle, has avoided the chaos. Let's try and get a look and see what on earth happens. Rushworth is in the Hyundai.
So Rushworth, he gets a tyre onto the grass. That's what kicks it all off. And the back end, it's going to swing around there, right there. And it's just the slightest of touches. He then has contact with Jack Sedgwick and Leitner. There's absolutely nothing he can do there. All he can do is stamp onto the brakes and hope that everybody else avoids him. Unfortunately for him, a number of cars get involved in that one. And I believe that geodesic car, I didn't quite catch, it might have been Stephen Walker, who, that tyre wall just fired that geodesic car right back onto track.
Well, Rushworth, he certainly got away with that one, that's for sure. Damon Mulqueen has hit problems. He's down to 37th in the AM class, near the bottom of the order. Oh, lost it. Yeah, but just behind Sebulus, who was in such a good position there. So Damon McQueen, we thought he had the chance to get his mojo back there, but unfortunately it's a chance gone begging. He comes in for the fast repair. So at the front of the field it's Jaroslav Sebula clearing away by 1.6 seconds from James Parker, who leads the AM class, second overall. Oisin Hereford in the pro class is third there for Geodesic, with his teammate Spencer McCarthy right behind, and Jack Sedgwick in the leading Hyundai Veloster is watching all of this going on. So Sedgwick in the hunt for a good result as well. Good start from Ross McFarlane. He's up into 7th place. Good start from the Scotsman.
Yeah, up 4 places is Ross. So that's, in fact, no, it should be 5 places that he's up there in this race. So doing good so far. Spencer McCarthy trying his best to move forward and got ahead of Oystein Hereford. So change of position for those two. The Sim RC drivers, well, they're, as per usual, trying to work their way forward. Kieran Harrison up to 11th now in this race. Dan Martin up to 10th in this race, the AM driver. So again, another really good start for him.
Yeah, very good indeed. Well, we had several drivers come to pit lane to get repairs. Damon McQueen, we mentioned, Stephen Walker, Morgan Butler, Stuart Bickley, Norbert Leitner, Hackenask and El Neil. El Neil is still in the pit lane, I think maybe getting a tow back to the pit lane in fact. So a bad day at the office for those drivers, and many of which had absolutely no part to play apart from being
involved
in that melee.
Oh, is this Pete Newman? It is, in the 58.
Car 58, yeah.
What's happened to him here? Through the right, you see everything seems to be fine, and touches the grass. He's done exactly what Rushworth did. The problem for him is that he ended up meeting the wall.
Yeah, met the wall firm as well. So, dear me, a high rate of attrition already in this final race of the day after just 4.5 minutes of racing. And yeah, many drivers just trying to just keep it safe as best as they can. Sebula, he's gone. He's opened up a 2.2 second advantage over Spencer McCarthy as Rushworth off the road again.
I don't know if Jamie's been told that this isn't a grass track event. You know, this is touring cars that we're taking part in right now. He seems to be going off track more than he is keeping it on the grey stuff. So yeah, not ideal from Jamie. There was a car off there. Is that Naj? I believe it is. And yes, as Naj then ended up off track. Doesn't make any contact with any wall or other cars, so keeps it going. But almost three into one there at Moss, and David Baker on the inside trying to make the best of it. Has lost a place in this race so far, though, is Baker.
Yeah, he has indeed. Well, yes, if Jamie Rushworth, if he's going to do that much crash tracking, he needs a Hyundai i20N Rally 1, not the Elantra touring car. He's picked the wrong car out the stable from Hyundai Motorsport.
I'd take the Rally 2, to be honest.
Yeah, the Rally 1, I think, I'd be hanging on. To be honest, the Rally 2 would be hanging on by my fingernails. Yep. Well, yeah, the Rally 2 is a beast too. Oh, there's a bit of contact there between the RD Sim Sport car. Is that Holman? I don't think it's Martin. Yes, it was James Holman battling away with Szilard Nagy for 17th position. It doesn't get any less fierce. In fact, probably gets more fierce the further down the field that you go. Another Impulse Racing car just off in the background as well. Miguel Freitas. Who's that off?
That is
Laubish.
Laubish. Oh my goodness! It goes from bad to worse after that jump start last race. Laubish trying to make some moves forward. You can see that queue of cars in front now, and he's thinking, right, okay, I'll start making my way through, making my way downtown, and looks to one way, sees people backing off, and then I've got an outside lane here. You've got two cars on the inside. And there's no room.
Unlucky there for Niklas Laubish. Just a chain reaction, and he was at the wrong end of it. Is now Jack Cedric trying to make some moves here on the 52 of Spencer McCarthy. This is for second place overall, and of course in pro as well. Huge! What did we say about Hyundai rally cars? He's still sliding as McCarthy, and Cedric goes, thank you very much. Spectacular from McCarthy, but not the fastest way around, and Cedric goes by. Let's get a look on board, Paul.
I think Cedric may have just given him ever such a slight kiss on the cheek through here. It's into the left-hander, so McCarthy's all right here. It's coming into this left-hander here. Back end just goes. If there is contact, it's ever so slight, and the problem is the back end just does not want to behave to you when you wanted to try and switch curves, and that's why it just went on him again. It wasn't fully saved, and well held, I must say, and to keep that car in third place as well, that's some exceptional car control. It
was, and there was no big panic throws of steering lock. It was very calm. It certainly appeared that way. The only thing is, might have spiked a load of temperature through the tyre.
Yeah. And
at which point it's very difficult to get that tyre temperature down again. So that could really hurt McCarthy for the next few laps at least. Now, Oysten Herford taking an alternative line here as well. Is he having to serve a slowdown penalty, I wonder? I think he is,
Well, I'll tell you what is going on is a little bit of tight action there. Matthias Penteler in the Honda, giving it a fair play to him, giving it a bit of a squeeze, and to try and hang on to 7th place, but Kieran Harrison makes it through. Meanwhile, up in front, the DCW racing car is going to be losing another place. James Parker down to 5th from Ross McFarlane now.
Well. Yeah, it's the top pro runners really are making their way through the field quite significantly. And yeah, McFarlane, this is a good opportunity to try and land a blow on the Sim RC drivers, try and regain some points. He finished behind them in race 1 and 2, but this is a chance for the season 1 champion to strike back. Harrison is only 0.7 of a second behind, but he does have James Parker as a little bit of rear gunner help there as well, so it's an opportunity here. Ross McFarlane's got to push as hard as he can and try and get onto the case of Spencer McFarlane ahead.
I think the problem for Ross, though, is the fact that James is picking his fights right here, is James Parker, and that's clever, that's sensible from the AM driver. He knows that he wants to get a really good score of points for himself and his team in this final race, But if you're Ross McFarlane, it's not enough points that you're gaining back off of Kieran in this race. He needs to have an event in a race where Harrison just has a bad week.
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? But it's a long championship where, we're only just gone past 1/4 distance. Oh, big move in the background there from the Honda of Pentela. In fact, two Hondas, Pentela and Blackhall in the Free-M car. And actually, that's got Corentin Guinness kind of trapped in there. Dan Martin in for the fun as well. So the Hondas they seem to be working a bit better here at Mosport. Where that's coming from, is that from the high-speed corners? I guess it must be.
It's got a good chassis as this car.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And it really does handle the corners well. Guinness to the inside of Blackhall. And the Australian Blackhall will be determined to try and hang on. Doesn't get that spot, and Dan Martin tried to follow through, but got the door absolutely slammed in his face there by Jake. But Jake won't give this one up without a fight. Meanwhile, James Parker and Austin Hefford now are going to be swapping places, and Hefford... Parker's got to be careful here because Pentela is right behind him, and he doesn't want to be just moving over for everybody. Is McFarlane now and McCarthy, they're together.
Oh, great move there from McFarlane. Gets the job done nice and clean as always. Ross is not one for just parking it on the side of somebody's door. It's always clean, always fair, and always fast. And he moves up into third. Can he catch Cedric though? I tell you what, Cedric is really in the groove here in the Craig setup shop Veloster. And I suspect that McCarthy's not going to take this one lying down either. Oh no, more problems for Impulse Racing. Szilard Nagy again. Well, for Impulse Racing, they've had such a good start to this championship, Paul, but this last race has been a one to definitely chuck in the bin.
And you can see that both front corners are not pointing in the same direction. So, there's contact there. Oh, that was a bit rude going into the final corner, and Slazard, it's with Ben Gregory. Now, Ben is somebody who will fight tooth and nail. You can see he's made the mistake through the left there, and he's then saying, right, I'm going to get the better run. And he's just not backed out, and he's just hit the back of Ben and put himself in the wall. I'm afraid that's on you there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think so. You put yourself in that position. That can happen. So, now, the McFarlane hasn't quite been able, after passing McCarthy, to pull any time away, and Harrison is on the charge here. So Harrison, your championship leader, do you know, he's just driving with such confidence. It's amazing watching a driver when they're at the top of their game, top of the championship, especially early in a season. They've just got this swagger about them, and just the way that Kieran Harrison's driving, really, really strong. He's left his teammates Guinness and Ames far behind him. This has been a superb drive from our championship leader Kieran Harrison. Question is, if he, well, I'll tell you what, if he can get past Ross McFarlane, that would be demoralising for one of his main rivals.
He's driving with such a plum, isn't he? And
yeah.
It's that confidence, and he's in a real rhythm right now. I was thinking that maybe with the way that this championship is structured, that you have 3 weeks on and then a week off, and then 3 weeks on and then another week off, and so on and so forth to the end of the championship, whether Kieran and his teammates might fall out of that rhythm or not so. And in fact, McCarthy isn't going to even fight this one. Ross McFarlane's moving over to actually give McCarthy a slipstream to say, no, mate, I need you to hang on to that place. And Spencer McCarthy's saying, no, I'm not fighting that one. I want a good result here.
Yeah, well, car 52, Spencer McCarthy moves back then into 5th position. So, the ball goes back into McFarlane's court. McFarlane's now got to put a move on Jack Cedric, and that is no easy feat, as Ames and Guinness try to make their way through the field a little bit further behind. But yeah, for Harrison, keeping the pressure on McFarlane. But McFarlane, this is now, not now or never, but this is really down to him now to try and shift the balance back in his favour a little bit more.
I will say, this little group here, Teha Flatten race 2 winner, doing a really good job up into 12th place ahead of Nathan Ames, so being able to get ahead of the Sim RC driver in all of this. So it's worth giving a quick mention to Flatten there into Moss, although as I say that he runs wide, and Ames says thank you very much, I'll take the place. Commentator's curse in action right there.
Right there. Nice pure strain of commentator's curse. Jaroslav Sepula, well, we said he had another great opportunity to score good points, and this time he's taken it with both hands, 3.6 seconds ahead of Jack Sedgwick. So Jaroslav Sepula in place to join his teammate Wojciech Savidovic as a winner in here in season 4 of the World Touring Car Series, as the 3M Honda there of Jake Blackhall gets nerfed out a little bit wide and into the clutches of Nathan Ames.
Look at this now. This is great stuff to see, and you know, you've got James Parker trying to fight out for that AM win here in 8th place ahead of Matthias Penteler, and it's going side by side and through Guinness on Hereford, so change position for Guinness as they're coming through. But look at this now, this race for 2nd place is heating up here, Peter, and I reckon we've got about 2.5 laps to go. I just feel that Harrison's got the pace.
Oh, it looks like he does, doesn't it, Paul? And McFarlane knows it. He tries to play a counter move there on Sedgwick, but can't do it. So McFarlane glued in behind the slightly dumpy looking Veloster compared to the more elongated Elantra, and Sedgwick is covering the line as best as he can. Here comes McFarlane, but Harrison's not far behind as well. McFarlane's got a great run out of Moss Corner, setting up this move as they head into the S's at turn 8, 9 and 10. Oh, side by side as well. Sedgwick hanging on. They give each other room. Great respectful racing into whites. They rub just a little bit as well, and that runs McFarlane out wide as well. Here comes Harrison in the Sim RC car as well. So, a little bit of contact from Harrison to the back of Sedgwick there as well, and this is bringing McCarthy back into the play. Sedgwick covers the line off for now, but McFarlane just hangs on. He braves it out. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes here as well? The rear comes around as he got a hold of it. He boots the throttle, somehow hangs on to it, and somehow keeps Harrison behind. So Sedgwick still got 2nd position from McFarlane somehow. Brilliant motor racing here, Paul.
And this is what this championship gives you. Yeah, you get some rough, but my goodness, when you get the diamonds, they shine bright. And that's Parker. James Parker, he was your AM leader in this race. He started on pole position, and he's falling down the order. Here's what's happened. This is into Moss. No, it's not. That's out of turn 2, sorry. Into 3. And it's just running wide. The car's running wide. It's pushing out. Touches the grass. Contact with Blackhall. And that's him. That's his day done.
Massive shoulder charge there from Blackhall. Wow. You got a feel for James Parker. He was running out a bit wide anyway, but the big shoulder charge there. So, last lap then. Jaroslav Sepula, he's gone. There he is, away into the distance. 4 seconds to the good. One more lap, 2.5 miles between him and the first win of the season. But this is the battle to watch. Jack Sedgwick holding on to 2nd position in the bright multicoloured Craig setup shop Hyundai Veloster. Then it's the white and blue Pure Sims car of Ross McFarlane. Then the yellow and black Sim RC machine of championship leader Kieran Harrison. Harrison has never won this championship before. McFarlane has, but Harrison is the one with the advantage here in season 3. Who is going to come out on top here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park? McFarlane has a look. No, not quite, as they come through turn 4 down towards Moss Corner. Is this an opportunity? Does McFarlane want to go now? Sedgwick covers it off nonetheless. Just parks the Veloster right there on the apex as well. So it's going to come down to the final sector then. Jaroslav Sepula, he is long and clear, just half a mile or so between him and a win. Sedgwick is trying to defend with all he's got. McFarlane, he's got to have eyes on the front and the back of his head, as here comes Harrison, and Harrison has got a bit of run and he's got a draft. He's got a draft from Cedric. McFarlane is left out to dry. So much so, though, Harrison has to get on the brakes early. Now McFarlane's going to try and put it all the way around the outside of Cedric. Oh, they nearly touched. Cedric's going to hold it. Cedric's in the wall. Cedric gets turned in the wall. Oh, can he get it to the finish, though? I don't know if he can. McFarlane gives the place away, and Harrison comes home in second. No, he doesn't. It's switching around. Our timing screen's having a heart attack. I'm having an aneurysm. And Kieran Harrison, I think, has pinched that second position. Yes, he has.
And Jack Cedric will not get that car to the end because the engine blew through that contact. And it's just the slightest of contact into a concrete wall. Ross McFarlane is thinking, what do I do? What do I do? I tell you what, I think Ross is going to be... to be fair to Ross, he'll be the first one to apologise straight away for that. But this rubbing between Harrison and McFarlane going down the Mario Andretti straight into the S's. They're still side by side, Cedric and McFarlane. McFarlane gets over that curb, and that's what pushes him into Cedric. Cedric, unfortunately, the innocent party and all of that, he's not going any further in that car. Absolute heartbreak for Jack Cedric at the end of this race.
That's the right word. That is heartbreak. I mean, although a fairly dramatic outcome, you can't blame either driver on a second to last corner dogfight. It can happen. That's racing. You don't get racing as close and as tight as that with occasionally having an incident. And it's pair thought for poor old Jack Cedric. Well, what it means is then, after all that, Jaroslav Sebula, he'll only know, when he watches back the stream or watches the replay now, that of what was going on behind him. He won by 5.5 seconds. Kieran Harrison gets second position and Ross McFarlane in third. Is this the narrative of the season, where just those 50-50s not going McFarlane's way and definitely going Harrison's way in that circumstance? Spencer McCarthy recovered to hold on to fourth, with Corentin Guinness fighting up to fifth. Then it was Oisin Hereford, Nathan Ames, Jake Blackhall, Terrier Flatten, and Dan Martin, after all that, gets another AM class win and another overall top 10, just ahead of Matthias Pentola. Then in 12th it was Esteban Rodriguez, followed by David Baker, Andreas Bachmann, Miguel Freitas, James Holman, Craig Williams, Andreas Gilman, Ryan Hamilton and Ben Gregory. In 21st position was Sam Blees, followed by Nathan Davies, Nick Clibbins, Chris Chatterton, Neil Rocks, Mike Pollard, Neil Stevenson, Alan McCain, Scott Malcolm and Richard Simner. In 31st it's Stephen Walker, followed by Damon Mulqueen, Jack Cedric, James Parker, Stuart Bickley, Norbert Leitner, Szilard Nagy, Jamie Rushworth, Sam Smith and Morgan Butler. 41st was Nicholas Laubisch, followed by Pete Newman, Hakan Ask and El Neo. Now, we mentioned there was a change late on in the race for the AM lead. We've got a replay of that for you, Paul. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, so this is right at the death end. They've just gone past the incident with Jack Cedric, and coming up around the outside, Dan Martin at the line by 1,000th of a second over Matthias Pentola. I bet Pentola would have thought, oh yes, I've got an AM win, and then Martin, right at the death there, gets that win by 1,000th.
That's, as we kind of looked at there, number 12 of Pentola just gets up on the curb, and to be very fair, Pentola gave him room. Pentola could have just put him on the grass there, but didn't. That's big respect to Matthias Pentola. He'll be livid to miss out. That happens in racing, but just here he could have just straightened the steering up and put him on the grass, and that would have been Pentola's win. And it's he could have done it. He didn't. That's good, respectful racing.
I mean, the thing for me there is, I think Pentola knows that if he does track out and into the side of Dan Martin, all he's going to do is turn himself across the nose of Martin there. So yeah, it's definitely unfortunate to see that if you're an AM driver, and seeing an AM win just fall through your grasp. But I tell you what, though, That was a tremendous opportunistic moment from Dan Martin.
It certainly was, and he joins us now. Dan Martin, wow. Tell us about that. Let's go right to the end to start with. Tell us about that last corner.
Oh, it's chaos, wasn't it? I saw the yellow flags, and is it Matthias? I wasn't close enough, and I saw him line up. I think it was at Teague or Taj into that last corner under the yellow. I was like, oh, that's a bit risky, so I'll just try and get a cut back, and it worked. I mean, to be fair to him, he could have put me on the grass, so he gave me some racing room, and it's just a drag race, and I think it was 1,000th across the line, so it was very, very close, but very rewarding.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking of rewarding, it's been a rewarding night in terms of points for you tonight, coming in with a good lead in the AM class. A lot of your rivals not having a good night, you having a good night, and it all started with that qualifying lap. Tell us about your thoughts when you went over the line and saw the P3 overall come up on your Delta. That must have been a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cracking session. Me and James had a good little train behind us and in front of us that we were just stuck in. And I think we both had quite a few laps which were a little bit slower, once or twice in first or second sector. And then on that last lap, I think I found 2 temps in the first 2 corners. So I knew I was on a good one. And then James was just a little bit close enough so that I could get a little bit of a toe. So I gained another 10th down the back straight. And he was like, do you want me to move aside? I was like, no, it's fine. Just keep going. Mucked up the last corner a little bit, but it was a very clean lap. I'm very pleased with that. And it was good teamwork, to be honest, because James played his part. So very good night for the team. Very good night for the team. Didn't expect it, to be honest, because it's quite a tricky track for overtaking. So it was a good night.
It certainly was. Well done, Dan. It's been a great start to the season, all told. Continuing it tonight, and good luck for the next round next week.
Thanks very much, guys. See you next week.
So that's Dan Martin, our AM class winner in race 1 and race 3, and your championship leader in that class as well. But your overall winner in race number 3, Jaroslav Sebula. Jaroslav, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box, and tell us about that really nice, clean run there in race number 3.
I think we've got some technical problems here, Peter.
It appears so. Yeah. Yes, it appears so. I thought I nailed that question as well, Paul, as well. But Paul, before we close off, final thoughts on today's action at Mosport.
I tell you what, it wasn't quite as chaotic as I was worried it could potentially be. I thought there was some really, really good racing. We saw some respectful racing out there. The end of that final race, I mean, you couldn't get much more of a crazy finish there. And nothing sort of majorly untoward as well. It was just unfortunate how things panned out for Jack Sedgwick there between him and Ross McFarlane. But overall, really good racing, hard but fair action, and a couple of good performances as well. Dan Martin, certainly for me, is a standout here today. He really did stamp a mark on that amateur championship. But Kieran Harrison, what can't he do?
I think you talk about putting a stamp on a championship. He did that tonight as well. You know, a second place in race 1, second place in race 3. So he didn't win any races, but that's the World Touring Car Series for you. It's not about that. It's about maximising your 3-race delivery, and that's what he's been doing throughout the championship as well. So yeah, I mean, really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, certainly he's been tremendous, and that's what we expect. Nothing less from the SimRC team, do we?
Yeah, they have. They have really been a force to be reckoned with so far this season. Well, who will come out on top next week? We'll have all the action for you here on RaceSpotTV. As always, same time again. Myself, Peter Mackay, and Paul Smith will take you through all the action here on RaceSpotTV for round 5 of the World Touring Car Series. But from here at Bowmanville, Ontario, Mosport, Canada, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.